Hi, Julian. We are with you.
Ta-da!
Hey, how are you?
I'm a bit discombobulated.
Dice que está como un poco confundido.
No sé la palabra en español para discombobulated.
Usted habla en español, bastante bien. Muchas
Gracias.
gracias. Muchas gracias.
No, pero no tengo las palabras para esta noche, esta tarde, para la presentación. Es muy complicado.
Claro, se
Demasiado
entiende.
difícil.
No problem, Julian. We are so glad and we are so happy that you are here with us. We want to thank you in name of all the school and all the students to help us in this way.
My absolute pleasure. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the invitation, and I hope that you will get something from what I'm trying to do. I apologize lo siento mucho for the confusion at the beginning.
No problem. Dice que está muy contento de estar acá, que lo siente mucho por la confusión del principio y que espera que podamos aprender esta noche algunos contenidos.
So do you want to share my screen and I can start my presentation? Can you do that?
Yes, sure.
Okay, good. I'll share my screen here now.
Va a compartir la pantalla.
Let me see. Hang on. Let me get rid of some of my windows here. Let me quit Safari a minute. Hang on. I'm not sure what I'm on. Let me quit Chrome. Let me get rid of that. I've got too many windows. Okay, and quit that one. Okay, that's good. And quit that one. And I will be, there we go. What have we got now? Where's my, I can't see my keynote.
Es más fácil hacer una disección que entrar al Zoom, me parece.
Try this one. It says I can't open system preferences. Okay.
It's easier to do a dissection than using Zoom, Julian. Here in Argentina, we are facing the same problems.
Yes, will not be able to record the contents of your screen. Okay. Okay. Later. Okay, good. Let's try this now. Okay. Try now. Okay, try now. Here we go. Aha, there we go. Now then, so now what I can do is I can go to this one here and we can play this one here.
Yes, we are seeing your
perfect. Yeah, okay.
Here.
We got there in the end. Let me get rid of this. So I can play it, hopefully. Okay.
Fascia grasa, fascia
Good, here we
superficial
go.
y tejido adiposo, que es lo que tocamos.
Can you see me? Can you see what I'm talking about now?
Yes, I'm seeing you.
Okay, and I don't think you can see my face, but you can see my screen. That's okay.
Can you hear me while I'm translating?
I can hear you very well. Yes, absolutely perfect.
Thank you.
So when we're working as manual therapists, we're putting our hands on people and we have a picture in our head. And what tonight I want to do is give you a picture maybe of what you haven't seen before.
Esta noche lo que vamos a hacer es darles una imagen de lo que ustedes tocan cuando ponen las manos.
And so the first thing we touch, obviously we understand the skin, and we understand that underneath that there is some tissues that we call adipose or sometimes superficial fascia.
Nosotros cuando tocamos, lo que primero tocamos es la piel y luego lo que tocamos es un tejido que se llama fascia superficial.
But we don't necessarily have a good picture of this. And so my feeling is that I want to share this with a lot of people.
Pero presiento que no tenemos un buen conocimiento de ella, entonces lo que quiero hacer es llevarle este conocimiento a varias personas.
And the reason that we don't talk about this is because we have a system of anatomy, and anatomy means, there's two words, ana and tomi in Greek, meaning to cut up.
Y esto sucede porque el conocimiento de anatomía que tenemos es anatomía, la palabra en sí significa cortar.
And the images that we see in anatomy books are not real. They're not very useful in terms of understanding how the body holds together.
Las fotos que vemos en los libros de anatomía no son muy eficientes en términos de lo que tocamos.
And we started with a lot of these images back in the 16th century with a man called André Vesalius.
Empezamos con muchas de estas imágenes en el siglo XIX con este hombre que se llama Andrea Vesalius.
And he created these series of pictures in a very famous book, the Fabrica Humanus Corpora. It doesn't matter the name of the book, but he created these images, and this is the father of modern anatomy books.
Él creó estas imágenes y es el padre de la anatomía moderna.
And then sort of, 400 years later, 500 years later, we haven't really come very far. And we have famous pictures like this with Frank Netter. This is the pictures of Netter. They're the same sort of thing.
400, 500 años después llegamos muy lejos con las imágenes y esta imagen de Netter es las imágenes que estamos usando hoy en día para estudiar anatomía.
And what you can see is that, I'm just going to get a...
Y lo que pueden ver, ahora voy a compartirles algo.
Let's see if I can draw on this. Can I draw on this? Yeah.
Va a dibujar.
So you can see this area here that we talk about. This is the area that we would call superficial fascia. And he talks about it. He says it's fascia lata, and there's a label on it, sort of, adipose, but it's not really talked about very much at all.
La imagen que yo estoy marcando es la primera, la que está en amarillo, es la fascia superficial, y la que marcó en azul, en un poco más profundo, es la fascia lata.
I'm trying to get out of this now. I can't work out where I am. I'm just drawing circles. Here we go. How about this now? Oh, here we go. Get rid of annotate. There we go. Try this now. Now I'm stuck.
Tiene algunos problemas para dibujar. No problem, Julian, we will wait.
Okay. I can't see my mouse. Can you see how to get out of this? I'm going to get a stop share for a minute.
Va a dejar de compartir un segundo para...
Stop share. So, stop share. There we go. So these are the images that we have. We have, the muscles that we see, but this isn't really how the body, when you do dissection, this isn't how the body works, how it hangs together. We have lots of names for things, but no real joining up of the whole body.
Cuando hacemos las disecciones, no vemos el cuerpo así, tal como lo vemos en los libros. Tenemos muchos nombres que vemos en los libros, pero cuando vamos a la disección no sucede, no encontramos lo mismo.
So tonight what I want to do is I want to show you some pictures of this layer and tell you why it's important, and to help you to understand that that you're touching a lot more than just muscle or joints or bone. And in fact, you're not touching those things, you're touching other things first.
Esta noche lo que les voy a mostrar con algunas imágenes y videos es que no están tocando los músculos o lo que ustedes piensan que están tocando directamente, sino que están tocando mucho más.
Okay, hello, it's me again. So first of all, the thing to say is that the pictures that we're seeing are from people who've donated their body for us to learn from.
Lo que primero quiero decir es que las fotos que van a ver son imágenes de gente que donó sus cuerpos para que nosotros podamos aprender.
And it's a big, we're very grateful and we appreciate very much the gift that people have given us in order to learn from, and their aim was to help us to help other people.
Estamos muy agradecidos porque la gente, las familias de las personas donaron sus cuerpos y nosotros lo que podemos hacer es aprender y llevar ese conocimiento.
So we're going to go back to this again, and we'll carry on with our playing of our video. And I have some videos. So this is our thank you to the donors and their families. And we talk about the skin. You may have learned this in your classes, the skin being the biggest organ of the body, but maybe that's not the case.
Han aprendido en las clases que la piel es el órgano más grande, pero capaz este no es el caso.
The layer between the skin and the deep fascia, and here we have a little video of what's going on, and we're going to see how the skin connects to the layer down. Now this skin has been completely cut away to show you the connections below it.
La piel tiene una conexión con las capas que se encuentran más abajo, y acá en este video les voy a mostrar con la piel removida la capa de más abajo.
So I hope this video is going to work now when I press this. There we go.
Yes, it's working.
So we're just looking at the constructs of the
Don't worry about translating this. Listen, if you listen to my voice, can you see how connected those fibers are to the skin?
Pueden ver cómo se conectan estas fibras a la piel.
That's it. Each time we pull on the skin, we're seeing movement through the superficial fascia, the adipose tissue that's underneath.
Cada vez que estiramos y jalamos la piel, pueden ver que hay movimiento en el tejido adiposo y en la fascia superficial.
And all this superficial fascia is an endocrine organ. It produces hormones.
Y toda la fascia superficial es un órgano endocrino porque produce hormonas.
So every time we are moving the skin with our hands, and we are moving the fibers. So if you imagine you have a cup of coffee, we have to have a container, a cup, and we put coffee in.
Cada vez que movemos la piel, estamos moviendo la fascia superficial. Entonces ahora, con una comparación, imaginen que tienen una taza y que tienen café.
So the living ingredient, if you like, is the coffee, and the thing that's holding it in place is the cup.
El ingrediente vivo es el café y el elemento que lo mantiene en su lugar es la taza.
So in terms of fascia, the thing that's inside the fascia, whether it be superficial fascia or deep fascia, the thing that's inside it, the thing that's outside it is the fascia. The thing that's inside it is whatever.
En términos de fascia, lo que está afuera es la fascia y adentro lo que sea.
In this instance, it's
En esta instancia
adipose tissue.
es tejido adiposo.
In deep fascia, what's inside the fascia is going to be muscle.
En la fascia profunda, lo que está dentro de la fascia es músculo.
But the structure, the container, is collagen, and that runs everywhere. It doesn't make any difference where you put your fascia. The structure is the same. The cells are the same thing. The makeup is the same thing.
Pero lo que sostiene es el colágeno. No importa si es fascia profunda o fascia superficial. Siempre lo que sostiene es el colágeno.
And the main thing to remember about fascia, wherever it is that it's mainly not cellular. It's not a living tissue. It's mostly inert.
Y generalmente la fascia no es un tejido vivo, sino más bien que es inerte.
So what we see is we have lots of layers. People talk about lots of layers of the body, but this is a problem in many respects.
Es un problema que la gente habla sobre las capas.
So what we're looking at here is a little video that I took of the sky.
Acá vamos a ver un video sobre el cielo.
And it illustrates, it's a good comparison between the layers of fascia of the body and what you're looking at.
Es una buena comparación entre las fascias del cuerpo y lo que ustedes están viendo.
So if we look at even in muscular layers of fascia, you see lots of different structures, different depths to it. And here you can see clouds high up and clouds low down, and they behave differently.
Ustedes acá ven nubes más altas y nubes más bajas, pero ven cómo interactúan entre sí.
So the clouds lower down are moving. You can see the movement of the clouds, but the clouds further up,
Ven el movimiento de las nubes.
and in between the layers of clouds, there's different levels of moisture and wind and temperature.
En los diferentes niveles de las nubes hay distintos niveles de humedad, temperatura, viento.
And the same thing goes as far as the layers of the body.
Y lo mismo sucede en las distintas capas del cuerpo.
So this is a dissection that my teacher always did was take the skin off, and we look at the skin and we examine the skin.
Esta es una disección en la que solo sacamos la piel.
And then what we would then do with the next layer down is we would take this layer off and we would lay this next to the donor.
Y acá lo que hicimos fue retirar la piel y ponerla al lado del donante.
So this layer that you're seeing here on the right is what we would call superficial fascia.
Lo que van a ver en la bandeja de la derecha es lo que llamamos fascia superficial.
And this is the adipose layer, the superficial fascia, it's the same thing.
Y la capa de tejido adiposo es la misma cosa.
But all the blood vessels, nerve endings, capillaries for the skin run through this layer of adipose that you see on the right. Hello?
Los vasos, la fase superficial.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I missed you for a minute. But the trouble is that it looks like that this layer on the right is a separate layer to the layer on the left, and it's not, it's continuous.
El problema es que lo que ustedes ven a la derecha parece como que estuviera dividido, pero no, en realidad es toda una continuidad.
So I've got some pictures to show you from my beautiful country, and because in case you think it's just raining over here.
Les voy a mostrar unas fotos de mi país, solo en el caso que piensen de que siempre llueve.
And but the reason I'm showing you these pictures is because we can see different layers within our landscapes.
La razón por la que yo le muestro esta foto es porque se pueden ver distintas capas en el mismo paisaje.
And the layers change according to the pressures that get put upon them over a long period of time.
Y estas capas cambian en relación a la presión y dependiendo del tiempo.
And with human bodies, again, the pressure that we apply, i.e. movement or pressure from blood pressure or from our exercise, will change the shape of our body and change the way that we move and respond.
La presión que ejercemos en nuestro cuerpo, ya sea con el ejercicio, con la presión arterial, cambia la forma de nuestro cuerpo.
And lack of movement creates stiffness.
La falta de movimiento crea adherencias.
Because we don't have fluid movement through the layers.
Porque no tenemos movimiento de fluidos a través de las capas.
And the layers become compressed and hardened.
Y las capas se comprimen y se endurecen.
And we can see this in terms of sedimentary laydown, which we have here.
Y acá podemos ver en términos de sedimentación.
This is on the south coast of England.
Esta es la costa sudeste de Inglaterra.
Nice, huh?
Very nice.
Now, what you're looking at here is you're looking at somebody that's very big. This is their big size. And the adipocytes, the thing about adipocytes is you don't have more of them as you get fatter.
Lo que van a ver es una señora grande, es una señora obesa, y acá lo que van a ver es el tejido adiposo de ella.
So that the number of fat cells that you have as an adult are pretty much stable. You don't have more fat cells when you get fatter.
Cuando uno llega a la adultez, el número de células adiposas generalmente es el mismo.
They just
No
get
varía.
bigger. They just get
No,
bigger.
no varía y no aumenta.
It's the wrong way around. We should have.
No problem. Estaba al revés. Esta foto debería haber ido primero y luego la otra.
So what we can see is that when we work by taking the superficial fascia off, we have to work very hard to get this superficial fascia. It's very heavy.
Tenemos que trabajar un montón para quitar la fascia superficial porque pesa mucho y es mucho trabajo retirarla entera.
And what we've done is taken the skin off first. There's a big amount of skin, and then we have all this superficial fascia that we have to take off.
Primero retiramos la piel y luego tenemos que retirar toda la fascia superficial.
And we've got these 3 layers of the body that aren't layers. They're not separate. We've cut them away from each other.
Acá vemos las 3 capas, pero no están separadas. Nosotros las separamos y las cortamos.
So it doesn't matter whether you are a tiny person with very little adipose or a big person. You still have the same number of cells, however big you are.
No importa cuán grande seas, uno tiene la misma cantidad de células adiposas.
In the same class, what we had was one of our donors who was very thin, very skinny, and this is her superficial fascia.
En la misma clase, uno de nuestros donantes era muy flaco y esta es su fascia superficial.
You see, we can put light, we can see light through that. That's both layers, both front and back, of all the superficial fascia of this lady.
Acá lo que pusimos fue una luz y ustedes pueden verla de los 2 lados que se transparenta.
And you notice how in this picture, there's very little shape. There's nothing that really defines this person as being a female. Whereas if we went back to the other, it's too far back, but we could see that the shape of the superficial fascia clearly defined her as a female.
La forma de su fascia superficial es lo que define su forma femenina.
So when we put our hands on a body, we have to go through the skin and through the superficial fascia in order to get to muscle. And this superficial fascia has a lot more sensory nerve endings in than muscle does.
Cuando nosotros ponemos las manos, tenemos que atravesar la piel y la fascia superficial para llegar a los músculos, pero la fascia superficial tiene muchas terminaciones nerviosas.
So the experience of thermoregulation, pressure, movement even to some degree is coming from a lot more from our superficial tissues than it is from our deep tissues.
La injerencia de la presión y de la temperatura viene de la fascia superficial y no de los tejidos profundos.
So if we look at this is looking at somebody's right leg on the back, looking down towards the foot.
Acá lo que estamos viendo es una pierna derecha yendo hacia el pie, en dirección hacia el pie.
If we're thinking that we're palpating or pushing onto muscle, well, we've got to get through all this tissue to get to that muscle.
Si nosotros queremos llegar al músculo, tenemos que atravesar y presionar todo ese tejido hasta llegar al músculo.
And if we don't understand what's in this, then it's going to make our thinking of anatomy much more complicated.
Si no pensamos en esto, nuestro razonamiento anatómico va a ser mucho más complejo.
And I've just got a couple of nice pictures to show you there.
Acá les voy a mostrar otras
When we're
fotos.
looking at dissection pictures, it's nice to have a break from that.
Cuando miramos fotos de disecciones está bueno tener un recreo.
Yeah. I like taking pictures.
Me gusta tomar fotos.
So if you try and scratch away all the superficial fascia, if you try and get rid of the fat cells from between the collagen fibers,
Si ustedes tratan de raspar y de sacar la fascia superficial de las células de colágeno y de los soportes de colágeno,
then this is what it looks like underneath. So if we try this, let's have a little look at this video.
Así es como se ve si ustedes retiran la
This is
piel.
with my colleague Ana Barachegor, and she's from the Basque country in Spain.
Este video es de una colega de él, en el que es Ana, que vive en el País Vasco, en España.
And what she's done is she's washed away a lot of the fat. She's tried to get into and wash away a lot of the fat. So to show the connection of the collagen fibers to the inside of the skin.
Acá lo que ella hizo fue retirar el tejido adiposo para que ustedes puedan ver las estructuras de colágeno, cómo se sostienen a la piel.
But also now you can see the collagen fibers blending down into the structures of the deep fascia as well.
Pero también lo que ustedes pueden ver es cómo estas estructuras de colágeno penetran hacia la fascia profunda.
Of collagen as much as we can. Of course, there's been a lot of destruction of the collagen as well. But to try to find the relationships between the skin and the superficial fascia.
See the tension that we have on pulling from there. You see, as we pull on the collagen fibers, you're not going to pull those away from the skin.
Sí, ustedes tiran de la piel, tiran de las fibras de colágeno.
It's continuous all the way through from the skin down to the deep fascia.
Va desde la piel hasta la fascia superficial.
She's pulling really hard on this, and there's
Realmente
nothing.
está tirando fuerte.
Yes, it does move, but it has an end range.
So if this tissue, this tissue doesn't move, then everything else through the rest of the body is going to be impacted in the ability to move.
Si este tejido no se mueve, prácticamente todo el resto de los tejidos del cuerpo tampoco van a llegar a moverse.
Now, this is an area that's subject to a lot of scarring, a lot of injury, a lot of inflammation.
Esta es una zona de muchas cicatrices, de mucha inflamación.
And when you have inflammation, you have proliferation, you have more cellular activity.
Y cuando uno tiene inflamación, tiene proliferación de células y más actividad.
And so the potential is for this layer to get stuck and to affect the pulling down. If I twist my shirt, then everything else gets stuck down.
Entonces, si esta capa no se mueve, el resto tampoco. Si él, por ejemplo, pliega su camisa, no va a poder mover el brazo.
Cool, huh?
You stop sharing your screen, Julian.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to do, is to stop sharing. And I was just going to come back and say at this point, if there's any questions or comments, then please ask your questions in the comment box. Or if you want to unmute yourself to ask a question, I'm very happy. If anything you've seen promotes a question.
Está abriendo el espacio para preguntas. Si quieren, podemos empezar a preguntar y traduzco.
Quería saber si entendí bien y dijo que en los procesos inflamatorios aumenta la cantidad de células de la fascia.
Julian, Maria Jose is asking if during the inflammation processes, which kind of proliferation we have, which kind of cells?
In terms of in soft tissue cells, we're going to have, so in scarring, for example, your inflammatory process is going, anywhere, depends on, the answer, it depends on where the inflammation is. So if it was in your viscera, then you would have visceral cells.
Majo, depende de dónde se encuentre la inflamación. Si la inflamación se encuentra en una víscera, el tipo de las células que hay proliferación y que hay aumento es de las vísceras.
If you have scarring, say in a wound or a surgical scar, then you're going to have predominantly type 1 collagen fibers.
Si es, por ejemplo, una cicatriz, lo que va a haber proliferación es de células de colágeno.
But also a lot depends at the stage of the scarring. So in the early stages, the cells will be macrophages and phagocytes that will, and cytokines that will come and clean the area up.
Todo depende de la etapa de cicatrización. Al principio van a ser células macrófagas. And what other kind of cells, Julian? Sorry. Macrófagas?
So you're going to have macrophage and phagocytes.
Okay, thank you. Macrófagos y las células que fagocitan. Agustina is also asking.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ago says, which hormones produced by adipose tissue? Can you translate that question?
Sorry. Agustina está preguntando qué tipo de hormonas se producen en el tejido adiposo.
So particularly adipose tissue produces a hormone which is to do with feeling full. Okay, so it's called. It'll come to me, but it's when you. It's when you start to feel full. I teach it every day, and I haven't
it's insulin.
Not insulin. It does have.
No. De la saciedad. Una de la saciedad.
Anyway, it produces.
It's about satiety.
Anyway, so it involves when you feel full. There's a hormone that kicks in, and you've been eating for a few minutes, and you then go, oh, I can't eat anymore, and that's the hormone that is produced by
leptin. I think it is.
It is called leptin. It is called leptin. Thank you.
Leptina, Agus.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. See all that. So the leptin is produced by the adipose tissue, the adipose cells, the adipocytes.
La leptina está producida por el tejido adiposo.
Okay. Ghrelin is
grelina.
the opposite one. So ghrelin is the one that makes you feel hungry, and leptin is the one that makes you feel full.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Una pregunta.
Another question? Sí.
Justo le iba a preguntar sobre lo hormonal, pero la relación principal hormonal es, más allá de la leptina, es por su relación nerviosa de la fascia superficial con el sistema nervioso.
Okay. Julian, Adrian is asking, if the main relationship between the hormone producing is for system, is because a nervous system, or by which is the main reason? Because we have this hormone production in superficial fascia. I don't know if I was clear.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the thing to remember is that our fat is a reserve, but too much of it creates a problem in relation to, we're successful as humans because we can store so much fat.
Adrián, Julian dice que el motivo principal es porque las células adiposas son una reserva de energía y es por eso que se produce ahí la secreción.
And so, if it's winter's coming and we can have lots of big mammoths, we can eat all that, we can store that, and then we can use that, and that's very unique within the field of mammals.
En cuanto a los mamíferos, es una reserva de energía, entonces si viene el invierno, nosotros tenemos que comer y guardar esa energía.
We have no limit to the number of calories we can take.
No tenemos límite en cuanto a la cantidad de calorías que podemos ingerir.
There was the famous Mexican who was eating 30,000 calories a day.
Sorry, how much, Julian?
30,000 calories a day.
Hay un mexicano que podía ingerir 13,000 calorías por día.
So he's dead now, of course, but
y ahora está muerto, por supuesto.
So, but it's, so, you know, when we have lots of sugar, we can take that in really easily, very quickly, boom, you know, no problem. But the hormones will affect behavior. It will affect everything else that we do in terms of our sex hormones and our ability to use our immune system. So the endocrine system is very balanced.
Por ejemplo, cuando ingerimos azúcar, lo podemos conservar, pero en cambio el resto de las hormonas influyen en el comportamiento sexual, en nuestra forma.
Okay. I have a paper about, so if the adipose is producing and responding to hormones, then it makes it an endocrine organ and it makes it the biggest organ of the body.
Si el tejido adiposo produce hormonas, se convierte en el órgano más grande de todo el cuerpo.
Can I just have a little word of praise here for Cecilia, because what a job she's doing. Amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Julian.
So let's carry on with the presentation and share the screen a little bit. Okay. Where are we? Argentina. And share. Okay. So that was our little video. So let's have a little look at what we're touching. Let's look a little bit more about this connection rather than the disconnection.
Sorry, Julian, I missed the last thing you said.
Yes. So what we're looking at now is the idea of when we make palpation, when we touch and we push through, we think we're touching on muscle. We talk about muscle knots and things, but actually, what are we touching mostly in this layer?
Ahora lo que vamos a ver es que cuando nosotros tocamos, pensamos que tocamos músculo, pero que lo que realmente estamos tocando es esta capa.
You know, our shape and our relationship to other people is based on this layer. When we hug somebody, we hug this layer.
Nuestra forma y nuestra relación con otra gente, con otras personas, tiene que ver con esta capa. Nosotros cuando abrazamos a alguien, abrazamos esta capa.
When we touch somebody, we're not touching their muscle or their their bones or their joints. We're touching their skin and their superficial fascia.
Nosotros cuando tocamos a alguien, tocamos la capa de la fascia superficial. No tocamos ni el músculo ni el hueso, tocamos esta capa.
So this is just a short video of somebody that I was trying to get them to feel something underneath the layer of the superficial fascia.
Ahora lo que vamos a ver en este video es la capa de la fascia superficial.
So the game is,
va a ser un experimento.
The game is, we're going to get you to play with some skin and superficial fascia and see whether you can find the hidden tool.
So there's a tool that's hidden, and she's going to palpate into this tray.
Hay una herramienta escondida y ella la tiene que palpar en esa bandeja que hay fascia superficial.
So this is just skin and superficial fascia.
Just skin and superficial fascia.
Solo piel y superficie facial. Y adentro hay escondida una herramienta.
We are able to feel structures underneath, but this is just a question of how much we can feel. And we've kind of done this before, so off you go, have a little feel. And as you're feeling it, how easy is it to feel the variabilities?
So generally speaking, when people are feeling through this layer, you feel muscle knots in here, you feel trigger points in here. It tends to be in this layer that we feel all those things as therapists.
En esta capa es donde nosotros tendemos a sentir nudos, donde tendemos a sentir trigger points.
I think.
Él cree.
And so this layer is going to behave according to the environment that we're in. It's going to behave according to heat and cold and various other things.
En esta capa es en donde vamos a ver el comportamiento del tejido, ya sea frío, calor. Also, María José also thinks that between this layer we feel.
Yeah, there's much more in this layer than we realize in terms of manual therapy.
Hay mucho más en esta capa en términos de terapia manual de lo que realmente pensamos.
So I cut that a bit short, but so this is what we're looking at as we as we can see the joining up, this is again skin and the superficial. I've scraped away a bit of the fat, but we're seeing these connections down into the layers.
Acá de nuevo en esta foto lo que ustedes ven es con el tejido adiposo removido, las conexiones de colágeno que hay entre esta capa, la piel y las capas más profundas.
There's a lot of discussion about the thoracolumbar fascia, for example.
Hay mucha discusión sobre esta fascia, sobre, por ejemplo, en la fascia toracolumbar.
But what we can see here is, if we look, I'm just going to see if I can annotate this again. It didn't work well. Well, it did work for me, but let's draw this again. There we go. Okay. So what we can see, here we go. So this is thoracolumbar fascia here, but you see how it blends upwards into this superficial fascia and the skin that's around here. So this is all continuous with thoracolumbar fascia and across the spine into the opposite side of the screen there.
Bueno, acá lo que ustedes están viendo es fascia toracolumbar. Pueden ver cómo la fascia toracolumbar cruza hacia el otro lado de la columna y pueden ver las conexiones que tiene con la fascia superficial y más hacia la izquierda con la piel.
So this structure here, this is the edge of the ilium. This is the iliac crest, and these fibers here are going to be the aponeurosis of the gluteus medius.
Acá lo que ustedes pueden ver es la cresta ilíaca y ahí pueden ver la conexión facial con el glúteo medio.
But what we can see is that I've cleared away the superficial fascia. So just find my pen. I've cleared away the superficial fascia, and you can see the deep fascia, the fibers of the deep fascia.
Si ustedes remueven la fascia superficial, pueden ver la fascia más profunda.
So generally speaking, in anatomy, what we do is we cut all this away and we leave all this sort of sexy deep fascia behind, and we think that's a thing, but it's not a thing.
Nosotros lo que hacemos en las disecciones anatómicas es ir cortando por capas y lo que hasta llegar a la fascia profunda, pero no es solamente la fascia profunda, sino también que involucra la fascia superficial.
So yeah, again, I try to get out of this again. Okay. If I go back to clear, there we go. Clear my drawings. Okay. And we're just showing the same thing, that, and this is everywhere in the body that we can go. Everywhere you can pick skin up, there is this layer underneath.
En cualquier lugar del cuerpo donde ustedes puedan retirar la piel, van a encontrar este tejido.
Now the tissues that we see are slightly different in as much as on the palm of the hand, just trying to get out of this.
Los tejidos que ustedes están viendo son distintos, por ejemplo, en la palma de la mano.
On the palm of the hand and the sole of the feet,
y en el torso y en el pie.
And the fibers are a lot closer together, and the fat cells are a lot more squeezed, so they're harder.
Las células están mucho más juntas. Sorry again, Julian, I lost one moment.
The adipocytes at the fat pad of the foot and the hand are a lot tighter. They're a lot squeezed, more squeezed. The collagen fibers are arranged more densely.
O sea, en la palma de los pies y en la palma de las manos, las estructuras de colágeno están más juntas.
So whereas they move around, say as healers, or I can move my adipose tissue around, I can't move my adipose tissue around on the palm of my hand or the sole of my foot.
Entonces él puede mover el tejido en la palma de los pies y en la palma de las manos.
Which is good, because if I lift a beer up, then it wouldn't slide.
Y con lo cual es bueno, porque si tuviera que escalar, sí, no se caería.
And again, this is very protective. It's a very protective mechanism on the hands and the feet.
Y es un mecanismo de protección tanto en los pies como en las manos.
The other thing to remember is that the superficial fascia is a very poor conductor of heat.
Y otro punto interesante es que la fascia superficial es un tejido muy pobre en cuanto a conducción del calor.
So my core temperature is around 36.5, something like that.
La temperatura del cuerpo es alrededor de los 36,5.
If it's 2 degrees higher, I have COVID-19.
Si él tiene 2 grados por encima, tiene que estar en cuarentena. I think you said you have to be on quarantine.
But if I go to Argentina, for example, I might be in, you know, temperatures of 45 degrees, maybe, I don't know.
Dice que si viene a Argentina va a bajar la temperatura. That's because we are in winter. Esto es porque estamos en invierno, ¿no?
If you come to England in the winter, you'll be in temperatures of maybe 5 degrees.
Y si nosotros vamos a Inglaterra en invierno, vamos a tener 5 grados menos.
But my core temperature is still going to be, if I'm healthy, 36.5.
Pero la temperatura corporal, a pesar de todo, si estoy sana, va a seguir siendo 36 grados y medio.
Now, part of that is going to be the way that my kidneys are going to keep me warm or cool.
Parte de esto es porque los riñones me van a seguir permitiendo tener mi temperatura.
But primarily, it's my superficial fascia that's stopping me from dying at either end.
Pero primero, mi fascia superficial me va a proteger de no morirme.
So when I say, oh, I can feel heat on my skin, on my superficial fascia, I can't feel heat from my core temperature. I can only feel it locally.
Sorry again, Julian?
So if I'm saying, oh, somebody is producing heat, you know, from their body, well, their core temperature hasn't changed much, 2 degrees up or 2 degrees down. It's not going to change much more than that.
Si yo empiezo a producir calor, no va a cambiar más de 2 grados hacia arriba o hacia abajo, pero no más que eso.
It's just something to think about. Okay, any more
Es algo
questions?
para pensar. ¿Alguien tiene más preguntas?
Yo tengo una, a ver si...
Federico is gonna ask.
Hola, Federico.
Si nos puede decir algo de cuando tiramos del cuerito, cuáles son las capas que se separan y un poco cuál es el mecanismo de eso.
Okay. Federico is asking, we have a famous, we have a practice that we do is to pull the tissues on.
Yes.
Which kind of tissue, which layers we are pulling really?
La espalda baja.
Every layer.
In thoracolumbar fascia, we do is like we catch the skin, we try to catch the thoracolumbar fascia, and then we do it up. Which kind of layers we are really pulling up?
Okay, you're pulling in essence, you're pulling every layer down to the heart.
Every layer down to the
heart, the corazón.
Nosotros estamos traccionando todas las capas hasta el corazón. All the layers down to the heart, you said?
And to the brain.
And to the brain. Todas las capas hacia el corazón y hacia el cerebro.
Because if you understand that my skin is innervated and my superficial fascia is innervated by a central nervous system and also provided with blood from the heart.
Si nosotros comprendemos que la piel está inervada y está vascularizada por el sistema nervioso central y el vascular,
then we are creating tension through those. But in essence, when you pick skin up, you pull all the way through into every localized and for quite some area. If I pull here, I'm probably got a whole area that I'm creating tension through. Into skin, superficial fascia, and deep fascia.
Puntualmente, si vos traccionás de un lugar, estás traccionando hacia adentro y estás traccionando piel, fascia superficial y fascia profunda.
And this action of pulling
y esta acción de traccionar
will have a mechanical aspect in terms of pulling on collagen fibers.
Y va a tener una acción mecánica en esta acción de tirar de las fibras de colágeno.
But it will also create space for movement of fluid through those spaces that we're going to call interstitial spaces.
Y va a generar lugar para que pase el fluido en estos lugares intersticiales.
Okay.
¿Se rompe ese colágeno?
Is the collagen broke?
No.
No.
You're not going to break that. There's nothing you can do with your hands that's going to change fascia.
Nada que hagamos con nuestra mano va a cambiar la fascia.
Okay.
Gracias.
He says thank you.
But you're going to affect mechanical movement, because if I take this as a shirt and I hold this down, I now create a restriction of my movement distally to where I'm, call it down here. I'm holding this down.
Lo que dice es que si vos la fascia está adherida, no vas a poder mover lo que está abajo.
For whatever reason, through scarring, through lack of movement, through inflammation, I hold it down. I now call this a shoulder problem.
Por más que sea por inflamación, por cicatrices o por falta de movimiento, si la fascia superficial está adherida, no vas a poder mover lo que está abajo.
And so if I create movement in through these superficial tissues, I create potential ability for space for more movement away from that. Does that make sense? Like a wetsuit, like a tight wetsuit.
Si él crea movimiento en la fascia superficial, va a habilitar el movimiento en las fascias más profundas, va a generar el espacio necesario.
El órgano endocrino más grande del organismo. I like that. Is that right? The biggest endocrine organ of the body, yeah?
Yeah, you understood, okay.
Yeah. Va a crear espacio para que la circule. Yeah, it's creating space for the circulation of liquid.
Crea espacio para la circulación de líquido.
Yeah, and remember that every system of the body is about fluid, about circulating the fluid, cleaning it.
Y recuerden que todos los tejidos del cuerpo se tratan de crear, de la circulación de los fluidos. Tienen que ver con la circulación de los fluidos.
Without fluid movement, we're sick. Disease and lack of fluid movement are hand in hand. That's just the basis of our carbon-based life.
Sin circulación de fluidos estamos enfermos. Esa es la base de nuestra salud, la circulación de los líquidos.
We squeeze our bodies. It's why squatting to go to the toilet is such a cool thing. That's how our bodies were designed. If we don't squat, we squeeze like a sponge, and all our water goes everywhere.
Si nosotros no fluimos, estamos como comprimidos y no podemos.
When we sit on a toilet and read the newspaper, it's crazy.
Cuando nos sentamos en el baño, leemos el diario. And what else did you say, Julian?
We invent the toilet, and it's crazy. There's so many problems from having a toilet.
Que es loco tener problemas para ir al baño.
When we were living in the forest, we went and we took a squat like that, and we moved all the fluids and created load into our major joints.
Cuando en la antigüedad, cuando los humanos iban al baño en la selva, digamos, se agachaban y evacuaban los fluidos. Hoy en día tenemos los inodoros para ese tipo de evacuación.
Okay.
Una pregunta, Ceci. Adrián.
Adrián is gonna ask. Sí.
Él cree que el tejido conjuntivo, su estímulo principal es por el estiramiento o por la compresión.
Julian, do you think that connective tissue principal movement is for compression or for stretching?
Adrian Rogers is a very English name, by the way. So,
Adrián Roger dice que es un nombre muy inglés.
Sí.
I wouldn't separate the two. The connective tissues are there to do both. Stretching isn't a thing. We don't need to stretch as humans. We need to extend our movement. But stretching, what's the point of stretching? We're the only animals that stretch.
Él no separaría las dos cosas. Estirarse es propio de la raza humana y es propio del cuerpo humano. Necesitamos estirarnos.
We need to move through an end range, and that moving through an end range is the same, and coming to the end of a range is the same as compression.
Y moverse al final del rango del movimiento es lo mismo que comprimir.
Sí, mi pregunta iba hacia la acción del osteópata sobre el tejido, no voluntariamente.
Julian, Adrian is also asking what is the main purpose for osteopaths, compression or stretching? Which is the which is the best way we can reach to fascia and we can get to fascia, stretching or compressing?
It's a difficult question. It's kind
una
of
pregunta difícil.
which way should I kill myself?
¿De qué manera me debería matar?
The answer is neither.
La respuesta es ninguna.
The job, if you read Andrew Still's original work, the job is to restore movement.
Si leemos a Andrew Taylor Still original, el trabajo es restablecer el movimiento.
So the structure governs function.
La estructura gobierna la función.
So for this patient, I need to give compression because I need to get more mobilization. For this patient, I need to get them to extend more. But this patient, they need compression, stretching. This patient, they need compression. It's not what we do, it's what the end result is.
No es todo lo que hacemos, sino es el resultado que obtenemos. El paciente puede necesitar tanto compresión como estiramiento.
So the answer is yes, maybe. Both.
Entonces la respuesta es sí, capaz los dos.
Sí.
Sí.
No, que yo entiendo que él quiere decir que cuando estamos estirando un tejido, a la vez lo estamos comprimiendo. O sea, están sucediendo las dos cosas al mismo tiempo.
Ok, déjame chequear.
Lo estamos y lo estiramos, en consecuencia lo estamos comprimiendo.
Julian, Maria Jose is also trying to get the idea. Please let me know if I'm okay. When you stretch, you're also compressing. That's what that's what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Yes.
Certainly in terms of fascia and superficial fascia, and in terms of fluid, yes, you're compressing.
Sí, es como vos decías, María José, en términos de fascia y en términos de fluido, cuando estiras también estás comprimiendo.
Thank you.
If you think of a water pump, you have to go both ways to pump water. You can't just go downwards. You have to now come up, which is
si piensas en un como un aljibe, ¿cómo es que se dice esto en castellano? En una bomba de agua, estás yendo hacia abajo y luego hacia arriba.
Which is the compression? You might
¿Cuál
say
es la
that.
compresión?
The two of us.
Precisely.
Las
So
dos.
every movement is counter to another movement. Now, anatomy ignores physics. Well, that's not how the body works.
La anatomía ignora la física, no es cómo funciona.
Sí. Creo que la pregunta no se la hice bien. Ceci, lo que yo me refería o intentaba referirme es que en el trabajo reflejo del tejido conjuntivo, el estímulo se da por estiramiento de la fascia superficial y no por compresión. Entonces mi pregunta era si él desde su trabajo en disección ha podido notar eso, que yo creo que sí por lo que vimos en imágenes, pero quería tenerlo de su palabra.
Ok, voy a intentar.
Está bien.
Julian, again, I want to ask you again a different question.
Yeah.
We work a lot with reflex techniques, and in reflex techniques we use some kind of stretching the connective tissue with these two fingers. I don't know if you see me. These two fingers we have here, and we have these two tissues, and we do like we do like a path. We are stretching the connective tissue. So Adrian is asking if during your dissections, if you could check that it works and it's stimulated by stretching more than compressing. I don't know if I was clear.
Yeah. Okay. What you're doing is the same thing in terms of how it.
Lo que estás haciendo es lo mismo en términos de compresión y estiramiento.
When I press, if I
Cuando
have
presiono,
if you imagine a sponge and I press on a wet sponge and fluid moves out. I'm stretching the fibers that are distal to my compression, but I'm compressing the fibers that are local to my compression.
Imagínense una esponja, si yo comprimo, al mismo tiempo estoy estirando las fibras para que salga el líquido.
If I press down, this is local, so I'm having a local effect of compression, but I can't compress locally without pulling distally. I can't get movement from nothing.
Si yo comprimo localmente, voy hacia lo profundo, pero no puedo distalmente, o sea, no puedo ir distal sin poder estirarlo.
So if you saw the video, like when Anna had the fibers, she'd taken the fat cells away. As we're pulling, we can see that as we push, the same thing would happen. We'd push, create fluid movement, and as we take it off, we then allow that fluid to come back. It's a compressive structure in a sealed unit.
En el video de Ana, cuando estiraba la piel, veías que estaba comprimiendo y el líquido descendía, y después cuando dejaba de tirar, generaba el espacio para que el líquido vuelva a la superficie.
And don't forget that it's also a system under pressure. That's what blood pressure is for. If I cut you, you bleed, and then your pressure drops.
Y no te olvides que ahí está el sistema de la presión sanguínea. Si vos te cortás, sangrás, y después está ese sistema de presión que detiene el sangrado.
So every input is onto a pressurized system that is fluid based, and that is, and when we talk about fascia, we're talking about a scaffold to allow fluid movement through it.
Sorry again, Julian, I've lost.
So every movement that we make is predominantly, I believe, about creating better fluid movement. Whether it's reducing pain or whether it's increasing movement, it's all to do with fluid.
Todo lo que hacemos desde el movimiento es para incluir y generar más movimiento hacia los fluidos.
There is going to be a degree of proprioceptive input as well. I mean, that's another story, but
hay como una cuestión en la propiocepción nuestra, pero bueno, eso es otro tema.
Muchas gracias.
The thing I understood after 30 years of doing hands-on bodywork with thousands of therapists, I've learned one thing mainly.
Después de 25 años de terapia manual, aprendió una cosa muy principalmente.
We don't really know what we're doing.
Nosotros realmente no sabemos qué es lo que estamos haciendo.
And I like that.
Y le gusta eso.
Because it gives me permission to enjoy the story that my client brings, and for me to tell them the story that they want to hear, and off we go.
Y porque me da la posibilidad de poder contarle la historia que me trae.
Okay. Let's have a little look more at a couple more.
¿Más preguntas?
I'm going to put back on this my presentation on the screen again.
Okay.
So we just have a little look. Think about the questions that we're asking, and then I'll just go back over these again, and we can talk. This is just one area: lower back, thoracolumbar fascia.
Esta es una área, la fascia toracolumbar.
But wherever we go in the body, the same thing happens all the time.
Pero sin importar a dónde vayamos en el cuerpo, sucede lo mismo.
And these are adipocytes. This is what just gets bigger.
Este es el adipósito que crece.
And you're looking, the red lines are the connective tissue fibers.
Y las líneas rojas es el tejido conectivo.
And those fibers are spiral bound, so they will unwind as the adipocytes get bigger.
Y estas fibras son como resortes, y se van a desenrollar a medida que el tejido crece, a medida que el adipósito crece.
So again, I'm just going to show you a little bit of movement in this area, in this tissue.
Acá les voy a mostrar un poco de movimiento en este tejido.
This is in the abdomen. This is in the
Esto es en el abdomen, en la fascia superficial del abdomen.
So you're looking at the deep fascia and the superficial fascia as we pull on it.
Acá ven la fascia superficial y la fascia profunda a medida que la vamos tironeando.
Can you see that although you have stretching, can you see what I'm talking about how you might have also compression in that action?
Pueden ver lo que estoy diciendo, que también tienen compresión y estiramiento en esta acción. Wow, that's really good. Looks great.
Yeah, amazing, huh?
Interesante, ¿no?
Yeah. And you're looking at what you're looking at. I'm just going to play that again. You're looking at the rectus abdominis here. Being pulled by the skin and superficial fascia over the front edge.
Lo que ustedes están viendo acá es el recto abdominal siendo traccionado por la fascia superficial.
Look at how much movement's going on at the bottom of the screen.
Miren cuánto movimiento está sucediendo.
Look at how much movement's going on into the pubic area.
Miren cuánto movimiento hay en la zona púbica.
Is this visceral movement? I think it is.
¿Esto es movimiento visceral? Yo creo que es.
Is this thoracolumbar fascia movement? I'm going to say it is.
¿Es también movimiento de la fascia toracolumbar? Creo que también lo es.
Yeah. Cool, huh?
The surrounding network and the
sorry, what I'm going to do is, again, I'm just going to show you what happens as we dissect this and give you an idea of what's going on. So this is in the dissection lab and into dissecting the superficial fascia.
Les voy a mostrar lo que pasa en el laboratorio de disección.
The surrounding network, and the answer is no. So if you take a piece of superficial fascia, so what we're looking at, okay, as I lift this up, can you see that I can put
as we're cutting into this,
nosotros cortamos la fascia superficial.
My fingers underneath into that space. Now that it's easy for me to get into the superficial fascia, but I'm breaking down the fibers each time I put my finger in there.
Yo estoy rompiendo las fibras cada vez que ingreso a la fascia superficial.
Some close up here, okay. Okay. See, that's like a coat, a fleece that we wear around us.
Sorry, a fleece?
Like a coat that's sitting like a jumper.
Está como tratando de abrir y de generar espacio.
It's very strong, very strong.
Es muy duro, muy fuerte.
Sorry about the camera work. So if you try to grab hold of that layer between two people and pull, you couldn't pull that apart.
Si tratan de separarlo, a no ser que lo corten, es difícil de separarlo. I understood that you say unless you cut it, no?
Yeah, well, even yeah. I mean, if you just grab hold of that bit I've got in my hand, and somebody else grabbed hold of the other end of it, and you pulled, you wouldn't pull it apart.
Lo que está tratando de decir es que si dos personas se ponen una en cada punta, por más que tironeen, no pueden llegar a romperlo, porque es muy duro el tejido.
Sorry about so this is a blood vessel and a nerve that I've got hold of there. See, I'm pulling on those.
Este es un vaso nervioso y es una arteria, lo que está tratando de separar.
So again, when we're working on those areas, you talk about pulling on those skin and superficial fascia. Well, you're pulling onto this blood supply and this nerve ending.
Entonces, una vez más, cuando estamos trabajando la fase superficial, estamos trabajando sobre estos vasos.
See, look at the fibers inside of here. Look at these fibers that we can sort of see as
Miren estas fibras adentro.
Inside that cave, if you like.
Dentro de esa cavidad.
And so all this white stuff that's in here, hang on, let me do this again. All this white stuff that's in here.
Miren toda esa grasa blanca.
Let's come back to it. Where are we? We're running close to it. Ah, come on. So I'm trying to press pause on it and it doesn't work. All the little bits of white stuff that you can see when we paused it here.
Miren toda esta grasa blanca que estoy traccionando aquí.
That's all still collagen fibers. That's all still fascia. But you can see
Todo,
now white spiderweb.
Sorry. Miren todas estas líneas de colágeno, todas estas fibras de colágeno.
So the only reason you can see that white stuff is because it's being pulled apart. It's being stretched.
Y ustedes pueden ver estas fibras de colágeno porque la grasa está separada. Porque está siendo tironeada.
But that's still collagenous tissue wrapping around fat cells.
Y esto es como las fibras de colágeno envuelven a las células grasas.
Each time I look at stuff like this, I learn so much. So you're looking at a blood supply in the middle of it as well.
Miren este vaso sanguíneo en el medio del tejido.
Yes, so ask that same question of yourself. Are you stretching or are you compressing?
Les vuelvo a hacer la pregunta. ¿Ustedes están comprimiendo o están estirando?
Can you see why I said both?
¿Entienden por qué dije las dos?
Another layer of fascia, another layer of fascia, another layer of
Okay, I just like watching it as well. Haven't been in the lab for a long time. Wow. Okay. So essentially, I'm going to stop the share now as well. So essentially, what we're looking at is we're looking at each layer that however much fat you've got, it still has to have fibers that hold that in place, and those fibers are very innervated with sensory nerve endings.
Sin importar la cantidad de tejido graso que haya, lo importante son todas estas fibras de colágeno, lo inervadas y lo irrigadas que están.
They are filled, they're provided and oxygenated by the blood supply that runs to them.
Están oxigenadas por el suministro sanguíneo y arterial que hay.
And if they are subjected to injury or scarring, then they get restricted and that layer stops moving.
Y si están sujetas y sin movimiento por cicatrices, detienen e imposibilitan el movimiento.
And what happens after a while is that you get this thickening of this superficial fascia into the deep fascia, and it doesn't move anywhere. It gets stuck.
Lo que sucede después de un tiempo es que la fascia superficial se atasca y no se mueven las capas más profundas.
And we see this a lot in our donors that have had surgery. We see the scarring, and where we see that it's stuck. All the area has become very fibrous and very thickened, and you can't move it. It's like almost like bone sometimes.
Lo que vemos en nuestros donantes es que cuando vemos cicatrices es que todo el tejido alrededor se comprime y termina pareciéndose como un hueso.
Okay, so dice que la postura en el baño es muy difícil la defecación. Se refiere a la relación I don't understand that one. Se refiere a la relación del tejido. Sí lo es. There's from Maria in there. What's she saying there?
Sorry, the message, are you reading from Maria Ricine? Yes, she was telling that you're going to create a space to circle the fluid. For osteopaths, we have the low artery, which we consider it is absolute because it's applied to every part of the body. She was also helping me to translate. That's why she was
okay.
there.
Yeah, okay, all right. So that's kind of really what I wanted to share with you was how everywhere in the body that you go, where you have skin, you have superficial fascia, and that if you move this superficial fascia, you probably don't have to, sometimes you don't have to do much more than that.
Lo que está queriendo compartir con nosotros es que en todas partes del cuerpo hay fascia superficial y que si esa fascia no se mueve, no posibilita el movimiento de las capas más profundas.
That underneath your hands, that this is the interface, this is the thing that you touch, we all touch whenever we do any treatment. That's the thing that we touch the most.
Esta es la capa, la fascia superficial es la capa que nosotros más tocamos y es la capa que nos hace de interfase entre las capas más profundas.
And we don't really talk about it very much.
Y nosotros realmente no hablamos mucho de esta fascia.
So are there any other questions that you have before I bore you anymore?
Maria Luján is also want to ask you a question, Julian.
Yeah.
When you get the donors, you get the clinical story, the clinical background. For example, just to know what pathologies did he have while he was alive, or the way he died.
No, this is the thing. We generally get the cause of death, and we maybe get a little bit of a story. It depends on the family, but most of the time we get nothing.
La mayoría de las veces no tienen nada, sabemos la causa de muerte y un poquito de la historia, pero depende mucho de la familia y generalmente no tenemos datos.
So a program that I want to run when I have my own facility, my own lab here.
Uno de los programas que quiero hacer cuando tenga mi propio laboratorio
is I want to have my own donors who will donate their body, but I learn about them while they're still alive. I want their story. It's very interesting for me to have their story.
Es muy interesante para él tener la historia, entonces cuando tenga su laboratorio lo que quiere hacer es traer también la historia.
But in
Romina,
normal labs, nobody cares about the story. Nobody cares about the story of the donor. It's crazy.
No, en los laboratorios comunes nadie le importa, generalmente no les interesa la historia, es como loco pensar en eso.
People aren't learning their anatomy to understand function. They're learning their anatomy to learn the names of the muscles and the structures. They're learning anatomy, they're not learning function. The two don't go hand in hand.
Lo que se refiere es que usan los donantes para aprender la anatomía de nombre y no la anatomía de función como nosotros necesitamos aprender.
A good example is like when you have one muscle, it has a function and it has a nerve, it has an action and it has a nerve.
Un buen ejemplo es un músculo que tiene un nervio y tiene una acción.
Like flour has a function and it has eggs have a function. They flour and eggs, they're separate things, right?
Flores y huevos son cosas separadas, ¿no?
And sugar.
Y azúcar.
So you can put flour to make...
flour, harina, perdón.
Harina, yeah.
Harina, sorry.
Bread. You can have eggs.
I understood flour, and I said flour and eggs.
But when you put the flour and the eggs and the sugar together, you have a cake.
Pero cuando ponéis el azúcar, la harina y los huevos todos juntos, tienes una torta.
That doesn't happen in anatomy. So if
y
I
eso no sucede en anatomía.
If I take semitendinosis,
si saco el semitendinoso,
have a nerve and an action.
Tengo un músculo y una acción.
And if I take gracilis and sartorius,
y si saco el gracil y el sartorio,
each of those have a nerve and an action.
Cada uno de esos tiene un nervio y una acción.
But when they attach together in the same place,
pero cuando están insertos juntos en el mismo lugar,
which is where we call the pes anserinus.
Sorry?
It's called pes anserinus. It's the goose's foot.
Se llama la pata de gallo.
They have to become something different, but nobody understands what it is because nobody studies it.
Tiene que ser algo distinto, pero nadie entiende por qué es distinto porque nadie lo estudia.
But if you took one of those things away, then the other two wouldn't be doing their job.
Pero si sacas uno de esos tres músculos, los otros dos no estarían haciendo su trabajo.
But anatomy is not interested in that because it's 500 years old and nobody cares.
Pero la anatomía no es interesante de esta manera porque tiene 500 años y nadie la pensó así.
There you go.
Pata de ganso.
Pata de ganso. Okay.
Pata de ganso. Pata de ganso.
So, ¿se puede determinar cuánto pesa la fascia en general?
Alejandra is asking how much weight does the fascia generally has?
Oh, okay. What, the superficial fascia, or
yes.
the whole?
I don't know, maybe both.
Well, a lot depends on how much fat you've got. You know.
Todo depende de cuánto tejido graso tengas.
It's an interesting question, actually, because I don't know.
Es una pregunta interesante.
Do you produce more collagen to hold that fat in place? And we don't know.
Porque todavía no sabemos si cuando uno tiene más células adiposas, produce más colágeno para sostenerlas.
I think what happens is that the collagen stretches, it unwinds and it stretches very quickly to accommodate the larger fat cells.
Lo que él cree que sucede es que las fibras de colágeno se desenrollan para sostener ese tejido adiposo.
And the reason I think that is because it takes quite some time to create more collagen fibers. It takes 21, 28 days.
Y la razón por la que cree eso es que tarda entre 20 y 22 días en crear más fibras de colágeno, entonces es más simple para el organismo desenrollarse y sostenerlas.
But we know that it can unwind and change its shape quicker than that.
Pero lo que sabemos es que no se puede desenrollar y cambiar la forma rápidamente.
So I think if I was going to go out and eat, 20 cakes a day for the next 6 weeks and get fat very quickly, my collagen fibers would unwind, and that's why we have stretch marks, I think.
Él cree que por más que se coma 6 tortas en estos próximos 20 días, va a aumentar la cantidad de grasa, entonces las fibras de colágeno se van a desenrollar para poder sostenerlas, más que producir nuevas fibras de colágeno.
When you see rapid weight gain in people, you quite often see stretch marks.
Romina is also asking Julian.
Good question. Yes. So this is a very interesting question about liposuction. What happens
yes.
in liposuction when you take
yes, what's happening in liposuction?
What's happening with the inflammation? Very good question.
Yes.
So remember here, what we're talking about is, let me give an example of liposuction. Wait 1 second.
Va a dar un ejemplo.
Okay, so with liposuction, if you imagine that you've got a needle that's hollow, a pencil like this that's hollow.
Este es un lápiz.
And it's like a needle, like a hypodermic needle.
Es como una cánula.
It's very sharp.
Es bien filoso.
And it has a suction at this end.
Y tiene un succionador en el final.
Now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to stick it in through the skin, in through there, and I'm going to...
Lo que va a hacer es insertarlo dentro de la piel y empezar a succionar.
And as I do it, I'm twisting and cutting and sucking and heating.
Y lo que está haciendo es ir hacia adentro, cortando y sacando. Y derritiendo además.
So I'm creating a very big space with a lot of inflammation.
Entonces lo que crean es mucho espacio, pero con mucha inflamación.
So with what you're also doing is not necessarily allowing the space to be filled up evenly. So the potential there is for lots of scarring.
Entonces lo que estás haciendo es no habilitando el lugar para que se llene de aire, sino lo que estás haciendo es creando cicatrices.
And B, for the fat cells, remember they have to get replaced because you have an even number.
Entonces, lo que va a suceder es que las células grasas se van a reemplazar porque recuerden que había un número determinado de células grasas.
And then we also have production of probably type 1 collagens.
Y probablemente también lo que haya es producción de colágeno de tipo 1.
But one thing we can't control is how long and how somebody will lay down their scar tissue. We just don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen with that.
Nosotros no podemos controlar en qué tiempo y en qué momento lo va a hacer, pero probablemente el cuerpo lo vaya a hacer.
But if the behavior in relation to how we put down our fat doesn't change, then we're just going to put more fat cells back into a space and it hangs out. It's a problem.
Pero si no cambiamos el hábito y la manera en la que incorporamos grasa en nuestro organismo, probablemente vaya a recuperar esa cantidad de células.
So we have to be it has to be done very carefully and not too much in an area and not too much at a time.
Se tiene que hacer de a poco y no mucho en un área y no mucho en una misma zona.
The potential for problems is big.
El problema potencial es aún mayor. Rosaura, sorry, Julian, did you finish with this question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Rosaura is also asking about stretch marks.
Right. What's the question?
Que creí que una parte de lo que él dijo hace rato, de cuando si vos de repente comías mucho y para que se estirara y las fibras de colágeno, dice que él cree que también esa es una de las razones de las estrías.
Okay.
Creo que esta parte no sé si entendí bien.
Okay, Julian, Rosaura is also asking, I don't know if she understood well or if I understood wrong, that when you eat and when you have more fat cells, you in your skin in the skin layer you have stretch marks or no?
Yes. So remember that there's the collagen fibers are creating tension in that space between skin and deep fascia.
Las fibras de colágeno crean tensión entre la piel y la fascia profunda.
So try this with a balloon, like a balloon that can only blow up so much, with a color balloon, a red balloon.
Prueben, piénselo como si fuese un globo que lo están inflando.
And if you blow it up too much, it becomes sort of a bit white instead of it full red. You know, before it goes pop, it's going to expand.
Entonces, si lo inflan demasiado, se va a expandir.
So if you expand those fat cells go.
Si expanden las células grasas.
And you're also creating a lot of pressure from inside to out.
Y crean mucha presión de adentro hacia afuera.
And the skin is also consists of elastin.
Y la piel solo, además tiene elastina.
You're stretching this way with the skin and this way with the collagen fibers. And I think that's why you end up with stretch marks. Rapid weight gain.
Entonces uno termina con estrías porque la piel se estira y las fibras de colágeno se estiran, digamos, de manera vertical y la piel de manera horizontal.
Thank you, Mera. Sí, me tengo que retirar. Gracias. Nice to see you. Well, yeah, so that's what I think. Anyway, listen, I've kept you for long enough. That's my short talk on superficial fascia. I could talk for days on it, and lots of other things as well. So.
Se tiene que retirar, esa es su pequeña charla sobre fascia superficial y que podría estar días hablando.
So I hope you found it interesting, and maybe I'll come and talk to you again about something else another time and get my technology right next time.
Le gustaría en algún otro momento hablar sobre otros temas y poder traer su tecnología.
Okay. I want to thank Cecilia for such a great job with translation. It's so hard to do, and it's amazing that her language is so fluent that she can do that. So very impressive.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you very much. In name of all the school, of Maria Jose, which our director, all the school, we are really appreciate your help. Appreciate your help. And we are so happy to have you here.
It's my absolute pleasure, and I hope one day I can come to Argentina. It's an ambition of mine. I saw the Motorcycle Diaries. You know this film? Motorcycle Diaries.
No, I didn't see the film.
It was about when Fidel Castro took a motorcycle trip through Argentina.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful film.
Very beautiful, your class. Very interesting, amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Very grateful.
Well, hopefully I'll come to Argentina and teach you in person when all this craziness is over.
Yes, we need that.
But you know what? We have to be thankful, because without this craziness, we wouldn't be doing this now.
Exactly, yes.
I hope someday you can come here and have a barbecue, Julian.
I hope so too. I will be running live. Yes, I will be running, Cecilia, if you could translate this, I will be running a live
Va a
dissection.
estar un curso vivo de disección.
So you'll be able to join on for 2 hours every day. We may be doing it in Spanish as well for 1 hour a day.
Va a ser 2 horas por día y 1 hora va a ser en español por 5 días seguidos.
But we've got 6 days of live dissection where you'll be able to see all predominantly on skin, superficial fascia, muscle, and deep fascia. That's what we're looking at.
Son 6 días, perdón, y ustedes van a poder ver todo la disección entera. Piel, fascia superficial, fascia profunda y músculo.
Adrian Rogers, how amazing.
Termina, espera.
Adrian Rogers dice que es amazing to complete.
We send you a big hug of fascia hug to you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Julian, if you want, you can send me an email with the information you told me, and I can share with my
Thank you. As soon as we have the details finalized, the next couple of weeks, I have to try and travel, and it's hard for me to get. I can't go from England into America. I have to be somewhere else for 2 weeks. So I have to be somewhere out of England for 2 weeks.
Tiene que viajar de Inglaterra a Estados Unidos, entonces tiene que estar 2 semanas en cuarentena.
Ah, claro. Of course.
Okay. Of course.
Maybe the Caribbean. I have to go to the Caribbean.
En el Caribe tendría que ser capaz. Un punto medio.
Thank you so much. Anyway, I'm going to go and have my dinner.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you very much.
Bye
bye.
Now, take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Buenas noches.
Chao, Julian.
Bravo, bravo. Muy bueno.
Gracias, estaba muy nerviosa. Si lo escucho en español creo que me muero, pero estaba muy nerviosa.
No, divino.
Igual siempre estás nerviosa. No te
3 horas